Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough. I'm Dr. Debbie Silber, and today's guest is Jen Broyles. Jen is a health coach, breathwork instructor, and essential oils specialist who helps individuals restore and optimize their health by calming the nervous system and addressing the root cause of their symptoms. Jen has a specialty in gut health, chronic stress, and anxiety, recognizing that imbalances in the gut and an overstimulated nervous system lead to imbalances throughout the mind, body, and spirit. Her personal story is what inspired her to educate and guide others. She dealt with digestive issues, anxiety, and hormone imbalances for years and was unable to find relief from conventional medicine. She left her career in pharmaceutical sales and returned to school to study integrative nutrition, followed by training in essential oils and breathwork. She combines nutrition, breathwork, essential oils, and other holistic modalities to help clients create a lifestyle of health and vitality. And today I'm going to be sharing an amazing tool with you. It's something you do every day, something you always have on hand, and something that's available whenever you need it. I'm talking about your breathing. My guest Jen is going to be talking about the healing power of breathwork, and if you're like me, it may be next on your must-try list. You're going to love this conversation. Here's Jen. Okay, everybody, we have Jen Broyles with us, and she's going to be talking about breath work and all of the wonderful things that it can do for us. So welcome, Jen.
Hi, thank you, Debbie, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just really excited to dive into breath work, what it does, how it can help. But before that, we want to know more about you. So tell us a little bit about you and why you became a health coach and what got you there, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I am a holistic health coach and a Soma breathwork instructor. And it's quite honestly been a journey. I kind of found myself in the world of natural health, trying to solve health issues that I was experiencing. And I think that's a story for so many of us. Um, at the time, this was, back in 2011, 2012 timeframe. I worked in pharmaceutical sales. All I knew was the conventional model of medicine. And I believed that that was the best solution. And I believed in what I was doing by promoting these medications. And I felt I was adding value and helping people. And for me at the time, I was experiencing some chronic digestive issues and had just kind of let it go for years, like never really did anything about it, never talked to doctors about it, and just thought eventually they would go away. And I can pinpoint it to a time in college when I took some heavy duty antibiotics, and that is what I feel like kind of threw things off. And
What did
just
you
never.
notice after that when you took the antibiotics? What kind of response did you have?
Yeah, it was a lot of bloating and constipation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and I, at the time, I mean, this was so many years ago, like we didn't know all that we know now about the microbiome. And especially me in college, like I wasn't even thinking, oh, the medication, like it just didn't connect. And I just thought, eventually it would go away, and it didn't. And over the years, it just started to kind of cause other symptoms, hormone imbalances and anxiety and skin issues and all these things. And so finally I started seeing different doctors for all these different things, thinking none of it was connected, right? It was all separate. And through that experience of undergoing so many different tests and trying all these different medications and nothing was helping, that's when I was kind of just left to, I felt, figure things out on my own.
And
And
you know what, Jen, before you even go there, what you're saying is such a common story that so many of us have, where we have symptoms driven by something. We're taught that if we medicate them, they'll go away. And we medicate it, and it's like this one big game of whack-a-mole, because then something else shows up and we go ahead and medicate that. And then all we're doing is just tamping down the symptoms at best and never truly getting to the root. And it just doesn't go away because of it, and it just gets worse and worse. It sounds like that was the case for you.
that was absolutely the case. And it was incredibly frustrating. And, I know your podcast is about betrayal. And I think we can see betrayal in a number of different things, whether it's relationships, or sometimes we feel like, our bodies betrayed us, or the healthcare system has betrayed us, or doctors have betrayed us because we're not getting the answers and the solutions that we're looking for. And it can definitely lead, I know for me, it led to this state of victimhood, of this why me, and those aren't empowering questions. And it just kind of will lead you down a deep, dark spiral. And so at that time, I just started, reading books on nutrition in my free time, because I didn't really know about nutrition, or at least what I thought I knew was completely wrong. And so I started diving into books. And
Don't you feel like, and a million years ago, I was a dietitian, and I feel like finding all of my clients and apologizing for what for what I shared with them back then, 20 something years ago, just eat this low fat, muffin and
right.
wash it down with some orange juice. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Yes,
We didn't know. We
yes.
just
But,
didn't know.
I like to think that we're all doing the best we can with the information that we have at the time, and so none of us are looking to like hurt people, right? But we learn, we live, we learn, and we grow from that. And so just through me, reading books, and it kind of led me into reading books on alternative health and integrative medicine. And it uncovered this passion within me of like, I want to do more of this. Like, I want to be in this field. And so back in 2012, I went back to school to study integrative nutrition and become a health coach. And then over the years, I've gotten additional education in integrative health and functional medicine. I've worked with some functional medicine doctors and had a chance to learn from them. And also essential oils. I do a lot with essential oil therapy. And then I discovered breathwork and got my certification as a Soma breathwork instructor. And for me, breathwork was such a missing piece, and it's just been a huge transformative piece for so many reasons, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Right, absolutely. And before we do, though, I take us on a little journey here. What did you notice? What was healing as you were doing different things? So you started studying nutrition. Tell us how you felt. What did you experience, and what did it? What led from one thing to the next?
Yeah, so definitely cleaning up my diet. I mean, I was not a very healthy eater. I ate a ton of processed foods and a lot of sugar and all of those things, just things that were convenient. But I cut out gluten and dairy in the very beginning, and I'll say I noticed a little bit of improvement. It wasn't like, there are some people that they cut out gluten and they are like a new person, and that was not me. It's like, I feel a little bit better, and I'm still gluten-free to this day. But it wasn't just this huge, shift. And over the years, I've tried a number of different dietary protocols, that are supposed to be gut healing, everything from SCD to low FODMAP to paleo to keto.
And I have to say, just not everybody is as well versed as you. So can you just tell us all your codes, what they mean?
Oh, sure. So a lot of these protocols are, cutting out or at least limiting a lot of grains, limiting and cutting out the processed foods and refined sugars, and really focusing on a lot of vegetables, some fruit, some high quality protein, and a lot of healthy fats. And I found that to be helpful as well, and incredibly nourishing and nutrient dense. I felt like I had more energy. I was sleeping better. Like my hormones started to kind of regulate. And so I was seeing a lot of improvement with that.
And everybody's
but at the
different.
same time, I found myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, and everybody's so different, but was there one of those diets that seemed to improve your energy more than another? Did you notice a change from one to the next?
For me, I try to keep it as broad as possible and not put a label on it. And I just try to stick with whole foods and I remain gluten-free and mostly dairy-free.
Great.
Because from what I found for myself, because I tend to be somewhat of a perfectionist and a rule follower, that trying to follow some of these diets was causing more stress because I wasn't allowing myself grace. And so I would get very, very rigid and very stressed out about it, which just made things worse, made me feel worse, exacerbated symptoms, things like that. So I found that for me, just being a little more flexible, giving myself a little more grace, but sticking with, whole foods, gluten-free, mostly dairy-free, lots of vegetables, lots of healthy fats, that works well for me.
Beautiful. Okay, so you started having more energy, your hormones were regulating a little bit, and so you're feeling a little bit better. What did you do after that? So it sounds like nutrition had a really big role. What was next?
Nutrition had a huge role. The next thing for me was bringing in essential oils and really addressing, it took me years to realize, addressing the stress component and the emotional component was huge. And I feel like, in my experience, even functional medicine and integrative medicine was not addressing that first, where it was like later on down the road. I think we're getting better at that now, but I mean, I feel like that's one of the first things that needs to be addressed. How are you managing your stress? What is your stress level? Because oftentimes, many of us are dealing with chronic stress in some form or another. And until we learn ways to reduce that chronic stress, it's going to be very difficult to heal our body. And so it took me a while to realize that. And once I did and started implementing practices of self-care, of calming the nervous system, and just being a little more gentle on myself, that's when I started to experience even greater healing. And it's been a work in progress, I'll say, because, creating new habits that are good for you are sometimes challenging,
Sure.
like we tend to be resistant to it. And so I have a morning practice where I'm doing meditation or breath work or prayer, or journaling. I'm using essential oils really to support a calmer mind and healthier emotional states.
And I love the idea. I love the idea of bringing the essential oils. And we actually have 2 trios with you just dealing with the specific symptoms of betrayal. And I love the idea of you just have to diffuse something or smell it or put it on you, and it's doing the work, where so many things may seem so hard, or it's such a big undertaking. Like I'm diffusing. I have 2 diffusers in my office, and I just love it. And I'll diffuse an emotion that if there's something I want to feel, or something that I am feeling, and I don't actually even know how it works, but who cares? I love that it does. And I'm good with that. So it is such a great thing to include. So, okay. So you mentioned you cleaned up your eating, then you have your morning practice of meditation, prayer, essential oils. And what did you notice when you now implemented that as well?
Just a calmer state of being, not so, I guess, not so rigid, not so like trying to control every situation, which I still find myself getting into those spaces sometimes, but, being more in flow, being more open, and just accepting what is, and asking, one of the big things too is asking more empowering questions, coming out of that state of victimhood of why me, why is this happening, into more of, what is seeking to emerge, what is the gift in all of this? What can I learn from this? How can I use this to help other people? More empowering questions, and just changing that perception.
I love that. And those are great journal prompts too. Just ask those questions and then see what shows up. So it sounds like things were just, you're moving right along. Things are getting better. Was breath work the next thing that you took on?
Breath work was the next thing.
Okay.
So my husband and I like to travel a lot. Lately we haven't been traveling a ton, but we are out in California at the moment, which we love. And that's actually where I discovered breath work. And I had heard of it before, and I had done a few, deep breathing practices and things like that, but not a full on breath work session. And when one of our trips to California, someone had, suggested you should try breath work. And they had, thrown out a couple of different ones. And there's a lot of different breath work techniques. There's holotropic breath work, there's Wim Hof, there's transformational, there's Soma. Soma is the one that I teach. And when we were out in California, we tried them all. I don't know. I feel like California is kind of a little ahead of at least, Texas where our home is. And so we had the opportunity to try all these forms of breath work. And I was blown away by what you can do with your breath. I was like, why did I not know about this? And this is something that I have access to all the time. But learning just different ways to breathe, to activate different situations and scenarios in your body. And so we tried all these forms of breath work, had incredible experiences, from major trauma release to just
Wow.
insights, downloads, igniting creativity, elevating just your state of, bliss and energy and possibility, just so many great things. And Soma is the one that I really landed on. It really resonated with me. I felt amazing after the session, and I was like, I want to do more of this. And so
And I would love, yeah, I so want to get into it, but what was the difference between some of the other ones? Because I've heard of
Mhm,
holotropic breathing and,
mhm.
and some of the, what's the difference between from one to the next?
Yeah, so they all have their benefits, but you're right, they are all different. And so um, holotropic breath work, and there's a couple of others like transformational breath work, they tend to be more fast-paced, kind of hyperventilation types of breathing, in and out through the mouth at more of a faster pace. And what you're doing with that is you're really stimulating the sympathetic nervous system to activate, a state of, being able to release suppressed emotions and any type of trauma that might be present. So it's a pretty intense form of breath work. It's not one that you really want to practice every day, but it can be incredibly healing. That type of breath work, I do think it's good to like have a guide with you to do it, because stuff can come up, and sometimes it can cause a lot of anxiety and you don't really know what to do with it, and you just kind of have to sit with it and let it come and let it pass.
Mm.
um, with Soma breath, it also allows for that, but I find it to offer a lot of other benefits as well. So Soma breath incorporates rhythmic breathing, but most of it is done at a slower pace, and we're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth instead of full on mouth breathing.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of benefit to that. Breathing in through the nose helps filter the air. It stimulates the production of nitric oxide. And so there's a lot of benefit to breathing in the nose and then breathing out through the mouth. And we'll breathe in different rhythms. So we might breathe in for 4 and out for 4, or in for 2 and out for 2. But what that deep rhythmic breathing is doing is really bringing coherence to the body. It's really creating a state of harmony, homeostasis. It's calming the nervous system and helping to realign all the rhythms in your body, right? And so it's really, really beautiful in that respect. And the fact that it is so calming, and it helps you get into more of a parasympathetic state of your nervous system, which is your rest, your relaxation, your digestion. And that's where many of us need to be, because
Hmm.
we're in that fight or flight survival mode. So we need to like really activate that parasympathetic piece of our nervous system. And it allows you to go into more of a meditative state as well. So I know for me and a lot of other people, find meditation sometimes to be difficult because we have this racing mind and we have all these thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to kind of get into the present moment and just be. And with Soma breath work, it's so much easier to get to that space, which is really, really powerful. And so this rhythmic breathing really allows you to kind of activate that inner pharmacy that we all have within us, calm the nervous system, get into a meditative state, and really start to cultivate whatever our intention is for the breath work. And then at the end, we do several rounds of rhythmic breathing. And at the end of each round of the rhythmic breathing, we do breath retention. And another form of breath work is Wim Hof that I mentioned, and he does a lot of the breath retention or intermittent hypoxia. And there is a lot of benefit with this as well. So intermittent hypoxia has been shown to treat a range of disorders like high blood pressure, diabetes, Parkinson's, emotional disorders, and more. And what we're doing is we're starting to lower the oxygen levels in the body. We are putting a positive stress response on the body, allowing your body to become more efficient in producing energy, and allowing you to become more resilient to stressful situations. And what I love about this piece is that this is a time to really access your subconscious mind and fall into a deep meditative state and begin reprogramming any imprints that are holding you back from being your best self. So whether they're early childhood traumas that have been stored in the subconscious mind that might be holding you back, or it could be even more recent traumatic situations or suppressed emotions. This is when you can really begin to start to release those and create new beliefs and new empowering states of being. And so that would be the other phase of the breath work, is the breath holding.
Wow. Now, is there anyone this would be not recommended for?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the intermittent hypoxia is not recommended for people with cancer, really high unmanaged blood pressure,
Okay.
COPD, things like that. So we do want to be careful in certain situations, and it often is a case by case scenario. Also, certain heart conditions, we want to be careful with that. So sometimes a doctor might recommend something like this because of all the healing benefits, but at the same time, certain types of cancer, certain stages of cancer, and any sort of respiratory conditions and things like that, we want to be a little more careful.
So that would be not necessarily with the Soma breath work, but just with the intermittent hypoxia.
The intermittent hypoxia. Yeah.
Okay, great. And how do you know, like, how does somebody know that it's working? Do they feel differently?
You feel it. Oh yeah. You feel it. That's what I love about breath work, is that you feel it in just one session. I mean, it's one of those things you come out of and you're like, what just happened? Like, I feel lighter. I feel free. I feel amazing. Sometimes every session is different. Sometimes emotions will come up and you may be like, I haven't thought about that in years. Like, why is that coming up? I had a client this morning actually. And one of our past sessions, she had a memory from when she was 4 years old come up. And she was like, I had not thought of that in so long. I thought I was over it, but I'm clearly not. And so she's been able to kind of work through that. And then in our session today, she had been dealing with some chronic pain, and she was like, this is the first time, like, I didn't feel the chronic pain. Like, it
Wow.
went away during the breath work. And so that is just so powerful. And so, yeah, things come up. It allows you to kind of let them go. Sometimes you need more integration with it. But everything from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level, I mean, you feel it in just one session. I had another client yesterday who did just 20 minutes of breath work. She was telling me about this experience. She's in my online community where I have breathwork recordings. And she was saying the other day, you know, she was working and being productive that morning. And then she had lunch and then just felt completely fatigued and unmotivated afterwards and was going to take a nap. And instead she decided to do a breathwork session. And she was like, it was so easy. I literally just lay down on the floor, turned on my computer, turned on the session and did it. And she said afterwards, she was like, something just clicked in her where she just got this amazing creative inspiration, all this motivation, and knocked out a huge project that had been on her to-do list that she was kind of just not doing or putting off. And she did it. And so there's so many things, like whether it's creative insight, motivation, inspiration, productivity, or actual like physical healing, emotional healing, just so many benefits. And you really do feel it in a session.
And do you know, is it the kind of thing where you set an intention like, oh, I really need to be creative today, so let me do this breath work? Or is it just, I'm just going into this and I have no idea, but I'll just come out feeling better? Like what is it? Yeah. How does that work?
Yes and yes. So I think having an intention is great, but like the second example you said was still an intention. I'm going to go into it and have no expectation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. Like going in and saying, I surrender to this experience and I am open and I allow for what happens to happen. That is a beautiful intention.
Okay. Good. I hope everybody wrote that down because that's the one I'm going to use.
Yeah.
Is it a 20-minute? Is that typically what it is? It's a 20-minute.
So that would be a shorter session. When I work with private clients, we do a full hour. And so we'll usually, talk a little bit in the beginning. I start every session with a meditation ranging from 5 to 10 minutes. And then we go into the breath work. So we'll breathe for 35 to 45 minutes usually. And that would be like a longer, deeper session. And then as a daily practice, 15 to 20 minutes is a great daily practice. So it doesn't take a lot of time. It's so easy. You can do it anywhere. Don't do it while you're driving, but you can do it anywhere else. And it's incredible.
Now, is it the kind of thing that you do the session and then the 20 minutes, let's say you're doing on your own, kind of solidifies what you did or strengthens what you did, or it's just each session stands on its own and does different things?
Each session really stands on its own. It's one of those things you can't really control what comes up in the breath work. Like a lot of things, I also do a lot of tapping, emotional freedom technique. And, I can't go into a session saying this is what's going to happen because I never know what's going to happen. Breath work is kind of the same thing. Like you said, having an intention is great. If you're doing it midday and you're doing it to have more energy to kind of reboot, that's great, but every session is different, but they can feed off of each other too. Like if you're dealing with some, emotional stuff and you're using breath work as more of an integration technique, then each session can kind of help you progress along that path of healing. So
great to know. I think it's so interesting. And I'm telling you, I'm telling everybody, I'm going to give this a try because I think it's just so cool. And it's something I haven't done. So what do you want to make sure everyone knows as we wrap up?
Yeah, well, I would love everyone to try breath work because I was questioning it. I was a little skeptical in the beginning myself. I was like, we breathe every day. What is going to be different about this? But it's so different. It teaches you how to breathe properly as well. Most of us are not breathing properly. So we're perpetuating that survival mode. So it teaches you how to slow down your breath and breathe in a healthy way. But it also allows you to tap into the things you want to work on, whether it's healing, whether it's connecting on a spiritual level, whether it is sparking creativity and inspiration and motivation and productivity in your career, whatever it may be, this can really help you out. And so if you're wanting to try it out, I do have a free breathwork meditation that you can grab. It's my website, jembroyles.com/breathwork. And that is a 20-minute meditation. So that will give you a taste. And then if you want to go deeper, then I'd love to help you.
Oh, that's so great. Jen, you really, you opened my eyes certainly to something. I've heard about it, and just like you, I was like, well, it's just, isn't it just breathing? And you really, thank you for shedding light on this. And I mean, any different tool, strategy, modality, anything that can help someone get out of pain, have greater insights, feel better in any way is always something I want to talk about. So thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing your time. I know you helped so many people today.
Well, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it.
Well, I definitely learned a lot. I hope you did too. Jen found that changing her nutrition, adding meditation, journaling, prayer, essential oils, tapping, and breath work was a winning combination. Find what works best for you, but if you haven't tried it, take advantage of Jen's kind offer by trying breathwork by going to jenbroyles.com. Here's my biggest takeaway. Breathwork isn't just breathing, it's a powerful way to create harmony, calm the nervous system, get yourself into a parasympathetic state, the rest and digest state, versus the fight or flight state. It can create physical healing, emotional healing, increased creativity, insights, a deeper spiritual connection, and more. I'd say those are some pretty amazing outcomes through this practice. Of course, take the post-betrayal syndrome quiz to see what may be lingering for you so you know what needs your attention. And you could find that at thepbtinstitute.com/quiz. And have you checked out the PBT Institute membership community? Imagine everything you'd ever need to become your physical, mental, and emotional best. Community support, certified coaches and practitioners that you could schedule time with, daily classes on all kinds of interesting topics, curated experts teaching advanced strategies in the areas of health, mindset, spirituality, personal development. Imagine the most friendly, welcoming, and supportive place to become your best, all online. Nothing like this exists, and I'm so excited to welcome you. Go to thepbtinstitute.com/join to learn more. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to be with you next time, and here's to your breakthrough.